So a motivation for making this video review is I feel maybe this game hasn't got enough attention and praise that it deserves. I don't know that for definite. I'm sure there's lots of videos on YouTube reviewing and praising this game, but that's the feeling I get. Vanquish is a 2010 game developed by Platinum Games for PS3, Xbox 360 and PC. I would describe the setting of the game as the Cold War in the future. Basically, there's a Cold War scenario, there's a conflict between the US and the Soviet Union. You play as Sam, working for DARPA, which is the Department for Advanced Research, and the suit you're wearing is basically a product of that department. Ultimately, this is a Japanese take on the cover shooter, from the level design and visuals all the way up to the enemy designs and boss encounters. I can understand their motivation for doing this because at the time, cover shooters were a big thing, and Japanese developers were bound to do their version of it in a way, and in my opinion, they've done an excellent job. This is an action-packed game, especially on harder difficulties, which can get very hectic, which is not a bad thing of course. To help overcome this hectic environment, the game has well-placed cover for you to get behind. Now that in itself is nothing too special, it's the way they innovated upon it, which is quite interesting. So you have this marvellous slide mechanic that lets you get from cover to cover very quickly in a very stylish manner that increases the pace of action. On top of this, you also have a slow motion mechanic, reminiscent of the bullet time in Max Payne. This seems to be activated when you're low on health, and it can help in ways such as letting you make a precise shot or giving you a chance to get to cover to recover your health. These types of game mechanics are laid over the kind of cover shooting, which give a lot of like variation and flow to the gameplay, almost kind of filling in between the gaps when you're going from cover to cover. This game is obviously a sci-fi setting, and the adversaries you're fighting against are mainly robots. You have your basic minions, which have a range of different weapons like rifles, RPGs, and sometimes on turrets. On top of that, you have these what I like to refer to as like mini bosses, which are stronger enemies with different attack types or patterns. So you get a fairly nice range of enemy types in different configurations, giving you different types of encounters. So the basic shooting never feels a bit too stale in terms of always fighting the same person over and over again. As in a game like Doom, depending on whatever configuration you're up against, you're always going to have to decide which enemy you're going to have to prioritize taking out first over the others. Now there's something else they've borrowed from other Western games, such as the early Call of Duty World War II games, where you're never on your own, you're always with a group of soldiers. I think this was very useful because it took the attention of the enemy away from you somewhat, but more importantly I think it added an immersion, made you feel like you're part of a bigger battle. Now the level design, there's nothing too special about it. It's basically areas consisting of waist-high cover, some narrower, some areas more bigger like arenas, but kind of your normal average stuff basically. Now in between this you'll have like on the rail moments, like literally on the rails, on a train, or moving from a shooting craft, or guiding a truck through a tunnel. My favourite was getting through a highway before it collapses behind you. Again, I think these was added just to mix up the action, putting gaps in between all the cover shooting you're going to be doing. Graphically wise, for a game that's over 10 years old, it looks surprisingly good and stands up to the present day. But I would put this down to the quality of the art direction and design more so than the level of graphic fidelity. Although that was and is very good in itself, I just feel that the art direction and styles went more to its look and still being good after more than 10 years. Now one of the areas I really like about the game is the boss fights that you have. This is something that doesn't seem to be around so much more, especially in the age of multiplayer. I appreciate the creativity that went into the design of the bosses, whether it's these giant robots or a human in a flying power suit. As in all games of bosses, the aim of this is to take your skills and push it to the limit in order to defeat them, which is always very challenging and satisfying when you accomplish. In terms of weapons, you can hold 4 at a time, plus 2 types of grenades. Your normal frag and an EMP that stuns the robots. On one level these are bog standard weapons you see in many games, machine gun, rocket launcher, sniper rifle, etc. But then again, some of the other weapons are a bit different and unique, such as the disc thrower, lock-on laser, and armor-piercing handgun. These are tools that add another layer in how you approach the enemy, and again, give you enough variation, even if some are less imaginative than others. But overall the guns are fun to use, and weapons like the heavy machine gun, shotgun and rocket launcher have a lot of heft to them. Ultimately, this is a fast-paced action game with enough variation that it can be a lot of fun, and has a good flow to the action which adds to its appeal. Its look and style add a lot to its appeal in my opinion, owing more to the art style and direction more than anything else. What I find appealing, almost refreshing, is that in the context of modern multiplayer games, I'm taken aback by how engaged I've been by a game that is a standalone with no multiplayer contact. This is a testament to good enemy level and gameplay design, something that needs to be focused on even more so when you're focused on a single player standalone experience, and for me it has made me think further about this. This is further enhanced by not trying to be semi-realistic and having a sci-fi fantasy world that allows you to play with different parameters. There is a replayability to this game. A combination of game mechanics and enemy types plus difficulty settings leaves one free to try different techniques and approaches, which adds to the longevity of the game and how much you invest in the game, which for a standalone game experience is quite impressive. I mean, for example, I haven't even attempted using the melee attack, which I may do in another playthrough of the game, or I may try to play the game through without the slide mechanic. Another element pushing for the replayability is the scoreboard system. Again, you're replaying to get a higher score as well as other achievements. Also, for a second playthrough, I realised I could go into the slide mechanic with bullet time, which I didn't realise I could do unless I had low health. This opens up a whole new way to replay the game. Yes, silly me, I should have figured this out before, but then again I much prefer discovering a new way to play the game, and it gives me more reason to replay it, and adds to its overall replayability.